Today, we're going to talk about ancient Chinese human energy with my guest, Nancy Wong. Another Friday, another episode, and today I'm very excited to have my very honored guest Nancy Wong here, and we're going to talk about ancient Chinese human energy and what it entails. And for that, Nancy, thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very thrilled to be here.
Yeah. We know each other for a while now. I've been studying with you. You helped me regain some of my energy and vitality in my body. You have a lot of knowledge. You studied with the professor, Professor Y.K. Lung, which is he's the subject daily of today's video. We're gonna talk and discuss about that. And yeah, please feel free to share the information that you have, and yeah, let's dive in deep. Um, so I wanted to discuss a little bit Professor Y.K. Lung.
Hmm.
So this is him.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about who he is?
Well, he's a professor and specialized in internal Neidan Taoist medicine, which is the internal Chinese medicine. And Neidan means internal alchemy. Dan is medicine, Nei is internal. And he has been doing research for like 33 years. And he has also, no, actually, he has 33 years of clinical case studies, practical experiences, and he has done more than 17 years of research about this field. And he holds a PhD. That means he is the only one that is specialized in this field. Otherwise, you're not going to qualify as a professor, or I mean, qualify in that field. And it's an honor to be able to train with him. And I think I've manifested it as well because I was looking for a teacher that really has this caliber to be able to talk about those qigong and tai chi much more into detail and using modern human science to demystify the qigong experiences.
Exactly, because that's how we often know the ancient Chinese practices, right? We know about the meridians, we know about qigong, about tai chi, and it's all very um, embedded into a very spiritual sense of
Yeah.
ancient generation after generation teaching yeah, and maybe also diluting some of the original teachings that have been around. And what Professor Y.K. Lung is basically done is he's gone back to that. He's almost like an archaeologist. He's been digging up some of the origins of that.
Yes, it is true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a little bit about his background. He was trained as a Shaolin monk,
Yes.
right? And Shaolin monk is also for the people who don't know, it's a very spiritual calling in China, as I understand it. But it's a very physical
Mm-hmm.
calling.
Yeah.
It's very much a martial art
Yeah.
background, and
Yeah.
I have a clip that shows us a little bit
Yeah.
about that. So let's have a look.
Yes.
I was involved with Chinese martial art mainly because of my family background. My mother was a well-known opera actress back in southern China in the 1940s. Being involved with Chinese opera, male or females, they have to know martial arts because most of these scripts, they are written about Chinese warlords in the past. And then with my family pushing, I started training. And ever since then, it gives me very good health, very strong willpower, and obviously it gives me very strong physical power, so I can, look after myself.
Yeah, that's him.
That's him.
He's
Yeah.
very young at this point.
Very young.
Yeah. It's so he basically went all around the world,
Yeah.
and
He searched for the best.
Yeah.
And he trained with the best.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And I think it's interesting that he has this martial background. He has this very physical way of understanding his own body and understanding which movement creates which reaction within himself. Do you know anything about how they train in a Shaolin temple like that, or is there? It's all very mystical, right? It's very shrouded in.
Well, everything I know is also from television and YouTube. I never did some research on that. I only just see what other people have to share. It's a very intense training. It really pushes you to the edge as well. But I've never experienced like that. So I cannot say much about that part, only just from hearsay.
Yeah. For us Westerners, I mean, if I may call you a Westerner, we've been raised in the West, and the amount of dedication and perseverance and that's common in China. That's something that's almost very alien to us.
Yeah, true.
But
very harsh as well.
exactly, yeah. But if you push a person that far, there's some remarkable things that they're capable of learning, and there's been a lot of talk about what people can do who have been Shaolin monk. But let's look at what the professor did.
Yeah.
So there's some steel jacket footage that I want to look at. So maybe if we can talk about it, what we're seeing.
Yeah, well, actually, he's been kicked.
Just compare the size of the kicker's powerful leg with the smaller forearm. It is surprising that the impact did not break the thin ulnar bone and
These are
smash into the
martial
skull.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he's.
This is the steel stomach. The steel jacket withstands heavy punishments.
Well, that goes on in the background, and I warn you not to try any of this at home.
Czech Republic. So we can see this is all around the world.
Yeah.
He went all around the world trying to showcase. Yeah. And
This is the steel throat.
probably the most impressive one.
Chi energy protects the soft cartilage of the Adam's apple.
He recently went to Argentina, and he was doing the same thing, and he's 70 now.
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
Do
imagine
not
that.
attempt to copy this dangerous skill
This
which
is
you
in
have just
slow motion.
witnessed. It can be fatal.
Yeah.
The steel jacket requires years of dedicated training and should be practiced under the guidance of a qualified teacher.
Yeah, that's. Can you imagine doing that? It's.
I cannot imagine that.
I mean, the neck is very. It's a very tender area. I mean, you have a lot of knowledge about physiology. Like, do you know what's in here? There's the cartilage, of course.
There's this esophagus, and it's from cartilage, so there's not really a bone, so you can squeeze it. That's why it's a windpipe.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any muscles there that?
There's a little bit of muscles, but I really didn't really dive into that, so I can be very superficial. And people can log on to YouTube or to Google, and you can see the images.
Right.
And so, to be honest, I didn't really study the windpipe, the esophagus that well.
No, of course not. But yeah, the thing that I'm trying to understand a little bit is how is it humanly possible for people to do this? And the answer that we get back to all the time is, well, it's energy. And then the question is, of course, is what is energy?
Yeah.
And that question is basically is the foundation of Ake research.
Yes.
Ake research standing for Ancient Chinese Human Energy,
Yes. Correct.
and that research is yeah is the well, we can say it's the foundation of a whole new way of understanding of the human body. Um, yeah, so to understand the professor and why he went on this journey, I think it's good that we dive a little bit in his past as the Shaolin Temple. You told me that at some point in his course, when he was treating people, he was doing tuna, which is ancient way of massaging people.
Yeah.
At some point, from what I understand, he was getting burn marks on the people that he treated.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So what I remember of his stories is that he's a Tuina practitioner back then, and he was massaging a person, and the wife of that client discovered 10 fingertips on his back, and they sued him. So, but then he didn't understand what happened. So what he was saying is that because of his training as a Shaolin monk, his energy and his low infrared heat is increased. So his hands were like very hot, and that created the first layer of burning. So it left burn marks. So that is the increase of low infrared heat, and also his electromagnetic field increased, and he noticed that many phenomena during his practice as Tuina therapist, that when he was massaging a person and the person started bouncing on his massage table, and he tried to press them down to calm them, but it worsened. The person even got more, but then afterwards they felt much better. So he didn't understand what happened.
Right, and at the time he had no idea what was the cause of this. So you're telling me right now about the infrared and the electromagnetic field, but at this time he was only he was only taught the spiritual background of the Shaolin monk, but he had no medical background
No,
whatsoever.
well, only the Tuina, but then he could not understand what happened. And when he went back to his teachers to ask for explanation what happened, oh, you cannot touch that, you should not do that, and Buddha doesn't want you to do that. And then he went to the church, and then, oh, that's devilish, you should not do that. All kinds of things that was thrown at him. And later he still got questions, but nobody could answer what happened. So basically he was left in the dark until a certain moment that he started to have like strange phenomenon. When he was walking beneath on the street, and then this light lantern, when he stood there for like a while, the lantern switched off. And when he walked 10 meters away, the lamp switched on again. Oh, most people think, oh, it's ghosts. It's like, oh,
The spooky action.
spooky actions. But
Yeah.
then now he knows better because he's done the research. Now he can says because of his electromagnetic field, it had triggered electro appliances to malfunction.
Right.
So, and that was, I find it very fascinating that he has been able to research that.
Yeah. Yeah, and not only that, like um, he wasn't going to be the person that was just the subject of that happening to him. He wanted to figure out like, okay, how can I channel this? How can I put this into um, an active way of being, right? And so can you tell me a little bit about this picture, for instance?
This picture is the Tao Yin Tu, and the Tao Yin Tu is found in the tomb of I call it a very important person. I don't know the English name, and they found scrolls in her coffin, in her tomb, and it was contained movements. And this is like a renovated version. We use a few of those movements, and that we have the professor have put into his mythology, and the movements is based on his experience as martial fighter, also artist, but also fighter. He could able to see what the movement was meant in his interpret. It's always an interpretation because we never know what is meant in the past.
Right.
So, but because he has like since 10 years old, he got this martial art background. He could see, oh, that looks like the movement of that and that, and so he was doing some research. Okay, how can we put it into practice using the ancient classical text to put it as a methodology?
Right. So he was combining his ancient practice training, combining it with ancient findings
Yes.
of that were found in an archaeological tomb of this old lady.
Yeah.
And then what came out of it, what he produced out of it, was a methodology.
Yes.
And the methodology, as I understand it, it incorporates it incorporates all the yin yang. So it incorporates tension and relaxation. It incorporates the forward backward movement. It incorporates the upward downward movement, and it incorporates the expansion and the inward movement.
Don't forget the left and right.
And the left and right, of course. Yeah. So it's basically it's an integral system that incorporates everything in our physical 3D reality world, and the outcome of that is that he's capable of steering not only steering his energy but also amplifying his energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what you do with the training, and especially the Fa Jing, the martial arts side.
Right.
That really gives a big boost in your electromagnetic field. It will increase your metabolic rate as well when you do the Fa Jing.
Right.
Fa Jing is explosive power, and just like this, it's just like a burst of energy, and it looks very impressive, but it comes to theory and also technical explanation, and then practice. Once you practice it more enough, then it becomes a habit and it becomes a reflex. And when it becomes a reflex, then you can do the Fa Jing.
Yeah. Maybe we can have a look at the professor exercising his methodology. I have some clips standing. When you see this, what do you see?
I'm seeing that he's used Fa Jing, and he's using a few pairs to express what he is trying to show in the Fa Jing. And he's using the left and right, up and down. You can see all the essences coming back. So up, down, left and right, front and back. And the burst of energy, you can see that also it's a very powerful expression.
It looks powerful as well. Yeah, he did this in front of a class, right?
Yes, it was in one of the university. I can't remember which one it was.
I should have noted that down
That
for
doesn't
you.
matter. Doesn't matter. It isn't in class because
Yeah.
he's teaching in universities.
Yeah. And then there's because this is the form that will basically it will give you the facilities to steer your energy. If you practice this every day, then you will amp up your natural capabilities.
Yes.
But there's and that will heal you, because it will stimulate the body in a way that it's supposed to interact.
Yes.
It's which basically means that it will clear a whole range of diseases and illnesses and things that we have to worry about in daily life, such as headaches or stress or all of this. It's something that all of a sudden becomes manageable.
And actually, when you look at the movement, you have to understand the principle of the expression of the movements. And in this training, what I've experienced is that we mainly focus on the spinal cord, and because the spinal cord is like the mainframe of the body. So if you manage to manipulate that in different speed versions, then you get this self-healing mechanism, because the body is self-healing, the cells are self-healing, but you can use methodology, breathing or movements, to trigger that self-healing mechanism. you can feel it very easily. If you do like meditation or qigong and you feel like, oh, I feel like oozy and I feel nice, then you're really triggering the relaxation hormone, you know, the oxytocin hormone, or that means that you're already balancing out.
Right.
But in EcoSearch, we are looking for, can we do a little bit better? That's what we're looking and aiming for, to be very specific. What movements can we do to trigger what effect in which part of the body? That is the specific area that we are training for.
Yeah. Yeah, which is also why the movements are very specific.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, if you want to relax the shoulder part, you're not going to the leg parts. Well, the leg parts does incorporate in the movement, but how do you trigger the muscles to relax in the shoulder? You're not going to do any calf training, right? So you're very specific to trigger specific place, so we know what we're doing and we know how to trigger what in our body.
Yeah. 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 There's camps that training camps that there are, and in these training camps the methodology gets taught so that people can have the knowledge about their own movements and their own internal medicine, basically. But there's a different way to activate those medicines. Let's say, for instance, you have like a lot of trauma, or maybe drug abuse, or something, or a history of all kinds of things that you carry with you from the past, which are still blocking you in the current day, and that process is very interesting to see. It has been subjugated to a lot of scrutiny from the professor's work. People have told him that he was hiring actors and all of this. And we're gonna show some footage in a minute. But yeah, it's called spontaneous. It's a spontaneous state in which people are able to put themselves in. Basically, anybody can do this, right?
Well, of course, you need some proper training from a qualified teacher. And what you're referring at is that different ways of self-healing, actually. So there are two ways in general, and then one is by a therapist. He can trigger you into spontaneous, but the therapist need to have a strong electromagnetic field to be able to zap someone into spontaneous. And the other part, if you don't have a therapist, you can do it by yourself. And there we have a subdivision as well. Either you do it by yourself, getting into spontaneous, or using methodology to trigger the self-healing mechanism in our body. The spontaneous level is not cannot be done by everyone. People who are in beta means very active, very rational. It's difficult for them to get into spontaneous. But people who are sensitive, like they can sense people, they are more easy going into spontaneous. And when you are like me, I'm very rational. It's for me very difficult to get into spontaneous. And I use the methodology to trigger the self-healing, because it's about the self-healing mechanism. And spontaneous qigong is the ultimate level of self-healing, because your body is fixing the whole part. The most important thing is that you get out of the way when the body is responding. And most people cannot do that because we are busy with thinking, groceries, kids. So it's difficult for us to get into spontaneous because of the thoughts that's blocking our spontaneous movements. But spontaneous movements can be very simple, like excessive yawning. That is so different from normal yawning. But we can see the spontaneous reactions in children. Because when children, when they are small, when they are sad, they cry. You cannot tell them to stop crying because they are spontaneous. So when you are not familiar with spontaneous, you think, oh, that's something new. But we forget to look into when the children does. When the children gets angry, they can be like very aggressive. And we call that spontaneous reactions. But we don't recognize that here. But instead we just dumb them down, or we just cut them with their, or don't cry, or cannot be angry, etc. That is stopping their self-healing mechanism.
Yeah, we just think that they're being difficult.
Exactly, yeah. But actually they are releasing the blockages that is stuck in the body. But when you're adult, it's difficult for those people who are not used to do that, to be themselves and to be able to express themselves as how they are. We always have our limitations, our patterns, our limiting beliefs. And so you can use movements, stretching, to be able to trigger the self-healing mechanism. So you don't have to get into spontaneous.
Yeah, and I can definitely testify to how difficult it is if you're in your daily working state of mind and your active processing mind, that you need daily to process tasks to get through your life. It's the very rational state of mind is very familiar to me, and I have managed once to trigger spontaneous, and I was amazed by the after you let that go, and you just let that state of being you accomplish that afterwards the effects of the chemicals that go through your body that have been released by doing that, you're knocked out. You're completely you're on the floor, and you just your experience. How would you describe what you experience?
Well, when you're knocked out, is the body's releasing a lot of tension, and it costs a lot of energy as well. So you need to relax. That's why yin and yang principle.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's very simple. The body already knows the answer. Only we with the brains are manipulating our body to self-heal ourselves.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Yeah. We if we only turn the rational part out, the rest will take care of it.
Exactly, yeah. But sometimes it's not possible because you're stuck in this society where you have to find money to pay for the bills and pay for the house. So we can find ways to regulate our body, but only you have the tools.
Yeah.
If you don't have the tools, you cannot regulate.
Yeah. Okay, I want to have a look at this spontaneous. So let's see if I can pull this up here.
I would inject direct energy into the body, and the body, like I said, goes through the central nervous system. That's why we call it spontaneous reaction. It's a subconsciousness, it's spontaneous.
So this is the zapping
don't
part.
Be alarmed, yeah? Nothing happened here. I don't use any needles, okay? Never use needles anyway. Don't like them.
So this is medicine without using external medicine.
Right.
His own body.
And the case that we're seeing here, this person that he worked with a lot back then.
Yeah.
There's the zapping.
There's a lot of muscular spasms. So that's why his body is like curling up. And that's the spasm of the muscles.
Right. And the specific spasms that have to do with the challenges that this person is facing, right?
Well, this case study is a drug addiction, and so what he does is he zapped the person, and from beta into alpha, and but he's still conscious, but his body is taking over. So what people think if you're ignorant, you go, oh, he's possessed by a devil, you know?
Yes.
It's not. It's just knocking the body out, so the body can take over and release the blockages.
Yeah. Yeah, because these people are actually healed after this.
It took a while because I believe it's like 1 year or something that he was managed to detox himself, and he's one of the group leaders as well. After that, he is helping the professor because it helped him a lot. And this is all spasms of the body, and every big expression of the body is linked with certain meridians.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a major clue as well. The meridians that that are in the human body is they're in Western medicine, they're not acknowledged at all. they cut up a dead body, and they look for all the energy lines, and
Yeah.
they say, oh, we can never see them. Well, maybe it's because you cut up a dead body.
Yeah.
So,
There's no life in it anymore.
there's no life energy in,
Exactly.
and that is exactly what the meridians are. They're the energy lines. They're the
Yeah, it's actually fascia and the energy that go through the body. You can feel it, the sensation. You can feel that,
yeah.
but not many people know how to recognize it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anybody who's ever been to an acupuncturist, who have had like, it's a strange sensation on itself. Like you stick a needle in your arm, and you can move your arm, and you see the needle like moving,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
true. It's also the muscle contraction that moves the body, but also the funny part is when you put a needle inside, it gets sucked in. And if you look at, that's what I was thinking is the plus and minus of a body, the electro charges.
right,
That's how minerals and body fluids get exchanged in the body. You know, it's about the change of polarities,
right,
and
yeah,
it's electro signals.
right,
So that's why I find it curious. Why is the needle get stuck? Because it's like a magnet. You know, a magnet is all electric charges. You got two positive, it will bounce off.
yes,
And if you got two different ones, it will suck to each other.
yeah,
So that's how I see it. I haven't done proper research on that, but that is my hypothesis.
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to get a little bit into the healing part. So, for instance, what we see here, this is a guy that had a heavy form of acne on his back,
Yeah.
and he started doing the professor's methodology. He started training,
Yeah.
and by doing this, he completely healed his back.
Yeah.
Right, and this is one example of it.
Yeah. He has severe eczema. That was in 2019, I believe. 1 year after I went to Slovakia, and Professor mentioned him, and he suffered from childhood eczema, and it is so severe. We did a Zoom session on a webinar on that. It was so severe that he couldn't breathe normally, even though he had a mouth and a nose to breathe. It was not enough. He was suffocating, and his uncle knew Professor. So he was asking, "Can you help my nephew?" So they talked first, and then after that, yeah, I can try. And he didn't understand what it had. He took a lot of medicine. Even one medicine almost killed him. He said that in the interview, he mentioned that when he took that medicine, when he burst out in coughing, he would get a blackout. And he once had it in the car. He almost coughed that he almost blacked out, and it would have killed him almost. So he stopped with that medication. It was a trial medicine even. So he using that medication also caused him to fall on the floor because of his cough. He got a blackout and he hit something and injured himself. So so he stopped using that, and he was searching for answers how to self heal himself, and that's how he got involved with Professor. And in 2019, he went to Slovakia for training for a week. And later in October, I believe, he joined the Hong Kong webinar group. And I was there as well in the Zoom session. And he was training. And in March the next year, we did an interview on him, and his body cleared out. It's he has a baby skin, and
Right.
I even tricked. I asked a question. I'm not sure if you can remember that one. Is because people always say it's photoshopped and it's fake or it's so when he's in an interview, it's live. He was live there. I said his name is Jackson. Jackson, people think the pictures are fake, right? Yeah. Can you lift up your shirt and show people in the camera that how your skin looks like now? So everybody laughed, and Professor said, you put him into shame and shine. I said, well, we already seen his body, you
Yes,
know,
yeah.
so it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So he lifted up his shirt, and the skin was very, baby-like.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah. And he's not, and just to make sure for everybody, he's not taking any
No.
external medicine.
No,
He's only doing the methodology.
Yeah.
He can breathe normally. His
Yeah.
skin has completely cleared up, and his
and
entire
his voice became stronger because when he was talking, he was talking like this, very soft and gentle, and that is linked with the lungs. When your lungs is weak, your voice will dim down, and you don't have energy to talk. You don't feel like talking as well. So after a while, his voice became stronger. I noticed the difference because as a therapist, we observe, we hear, we see, we smell. And I could hear his voice become stronger. And I noticed that, and I came back, yeah, I'm very strong. My voice is quite strong now. And one of the latest video, he was really actually very confident in sharing his experience with that.
Yeah.
And what I've also noticed is I remember very well one of the Saturdays, he had a towel next to him. And then the professor said, "Oh, you're sweating." "Yes, my sweat is really smelly." He said, "Yes, impurities of the blood," the professor said. So he sweated all out.
Yeah.
And there's the toxins coming out from the pores.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it was very smelly. It's like, he says, "Oh, it's so smelly." He said.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's the thing when you get to the physicality is there's the stuff that
Yeah.
that people tend to step away from, but it's mostly when you go through it and when you're willing to accept it, and which you have to do if there's no other if there's no other ways to heal yourself, you just go in it fully, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I do remember, I forget to tell that I'm a therapist, acupuncturist. I practice Tuina.
Right.
I have a license in acupuncture, Tuina, herbology, and now I'm studying internal Neidan to help people without using any other things that I've studied before,
Yeah.
but just using breathing and exercises.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for. I'm a bad host. I
Yeah,
forget
it's
to
okay.
let people introduce
Yeah.
themselves. But
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks for clearing that up. So, and I should make clear as well the cases that we're looking at here. Most of these people, you know them. They're like they're like the Ake Research family of
Yes.
people who are
Yeah.
who who have no choice but to admit that this works, and this is this is actually this is true. So we have another case here. So let me pull it up. This is a case where of a person who has bruised hands.
This is eczema, actually.
Okay.
Eczema. You can see at the hands they're like flaky,
Right.
and this is also
It's like a psoriasis kind of.
psoriasis case.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the professor has 2 cases successfully when they practice that, and it's people from Hong Kong.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we did a webinar on that as well.
Yeah.
You can check it on Ake Research YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I have one of the most impressive cases. If people are still not convinced that this
We
has...
don't have to convince people.
No, we don't have to convince people, but it's of course it's up to people themselves to find if this has merit, and if they want to dig deeper into that, which they can, by the way. They can tag along with Ake Research, and they can invest their time and energy in understanding how this works.
It's important to feel if it resonates with you.
Right.
When you look at it and you feel like, oh, you feel excited, then that means that's something for you. But if you get not excited, you get doubts, you should not put into your energy into it.
Yeah. Which is the natural way, of course. Yeah.
And we call it intuition.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the things that really pulled me over the edge, and I don't want to convince anybody, but I want to share this wholeheartedly, and that's this clip. And maybe you can give a little bit of background.
This guy was in coma for 1 year, and because professor has done something, he managed to wake him up from a coma by using his energy to wake him up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can play it again. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to interrupt this interview. I know you guys really appreciate the content that we're making, but the only way that we really can support it is by having sponsors such as this. And I feel so lucky and privileged that we have the sponsor that we have, because I'm a fan of their products. And or our sponsor of today, Organica CBD, you guys know the drill by now. Use the code Paradigm Shift for 5% discount. Now, I really I wanna promote this out there, not just because I have a gain for myself, but Also because I really think that it's something that can help us into the future. And the other day I was walking my dog, and I met this other woman who also was walking two dogs, and she said that she gave her dog CBD oil, and why she did that is because the dog, it was kind of old, and it had problems with its hips, and it caused a significant amount of pain, and it was really because it was an old dog. So the question is, are you going to still operate on the dog, which all has a whole bunch of other connotations, but so they decided to treat the pain with CBD oil, and the dog seemed generally more happy. So I think something like that is great. Of course, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, I'm not a veterinarian, but I think if we look more to that kind of solutions, then I think we would have a better world. So if you have any story like that, please visit cbdorganica.com. Yeah, .com. and use the code Paradigm Shift. Use the code Paradigm Shift. You get a 5% discount. You're helping yourself. You're helping the show. You're helping the supplier. So with that being said, let's get back to the interview. So we can actually see he's not touching the patient at all.
He's just behind his head. There's this entrance point in the back, and he induced energy there to trigger a reaction.
Yeah. And the person woke up out of the coma after
Yes,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then he had to do some rehabilitation to be able to gain muscles again.
Of course, yeah. That's always the case with long-term coma patients.
Yeah.
You deteriorate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so interesting.
That's the beauty of science, like you can keep a person in coma, for 1 year, and so that is what I love about science. The Western science is they have many equipments to keep a person alive, but then you have Chinese medicine as well. It is nice to have them together, not separated.
Yeah, maybe we can say that the Western medicine is made for people for keeping people alive, but the Chinese medicine is made for living.
Possibly, you can put it that way, but it's an interpretation.
Yeah. Oh, it's my interpretation.
Yeah.
So you had something that you wanted to share as well.
It's a most recent clip that I received last week. Professor has been touring in Argentina, and it was organized by Dr. Willis. She's a psychiatrist in Argentina, and she's our group leader in Argentina.
Right.
And she has organized a tour with the professor to travel different universities to present his case and to do some seminars and lectures. And Dr. Willis was a participant here because she's very sensitive to energy, and she's familiar with the professor's work. So she, she put herself as a demo client.
Right.
And you'll see that some movements you cannot do it by yourself. You cannot fake it. Well, if people can fake it, show me a clip.
There we have it.
So here she's getting into spontaneous. She's been zapped, and now her body is doing all kinds of movements, and Professor has put some text in it to explain what is happening to the body.
Right, heart energy was being diminished by kidneys energy, thus small spasms, spontaneous reactions of the kidney.
And look at the legs.
Ligaments.
It's trembling.
Yeah. And also, she's not even seeing that he's doing that. Her hair is all over her head.
Exactly.
There's no way that there's communication between the two.
Yeah.
It's just,
And if it was fake, she's a psychiatrist.
Right.
So she's quite a good psychiatrist, and she studied there, and those are professors and doctors.
Yeah.
I think you put yourself into shame if you fake this all, because you're deluring people.
Yeah.
So if people are telling it's fake, okay, then I would challenge you to experience a zapping session.
I think maybe after this interview you will get some.
Well,
some
I'm not ready yet to zap. You know, I'm still training.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
No, but people who look at this. This is the
Look at the buttocks.
Yeah.
It's just lifting up like that. I think if people are really trained to be able to, from laying down until the buttocks fly up,
Yeah.
it's like someone is pulling her butts upwards.
Let's see if we can look at that
Yeah.
again.
So he's going into the front, and then he's tapping her head to inject energy, and then suddenly her buttocks go up. Her arms is relaxed.
Yeah.
If you go up like that, it means you have to pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we can do it later and see if we can do it up, like that, and just replay it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't tried it yet, but I don't think I find it so fascinating that the buttocks just rise up.
It's almost like a rag doll, like
You pull it up like that,
like
yeah.
on the string, yeah.
but what
it's
happens-
just the
Muscles contracting.
contraction,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the spinal
Yeah.
cord that is contracting.
Yeah. 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 Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this has just happened, I think, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
there for 6 weeks. Oh, I would have been. I wanted to go, but next time.
Yeah. 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 You and me together.
Yes, China.
Yeah.
That will be China.
Right. Right.
China will
yeah.
train in a cave.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, if we're going, we'll definitely take the audience with us.
Oh,
so
that
we'll
would be awesome.
definitely
Yeah, that would be nice.
show more of this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and I mean you can see the professor. Like, yeah, he's definitely he's at an age where he has to if he wants this practice to stay in the world, he has to teach.
Yeah, but the
new
problem
students.
is the endeavor of people,
Yes.
the discipline of people. People are not willing to put so much effort in it. That's why Professor only looks for 0.1%. Because a lot of people left, as you also know. Sometimes we had a lot of people, and then suddenly it always around 15, 18 people. Because people cannot tolerate the repetition.
Yes.
And it's the repetition that creates the movement into subconscious. It becomes a reflex.
Yeah.
Then if it becomes a reflex, that's a natural movement.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one of the big issues is that we have to see it as a maintenance of the body. Is the same way that you have maintenance for your car, you have maintenance for and once we start seeing it as something like that, like people do yoga, or people do, like, they go to the gym or something like that. Once they understand this as a practice, and they understand what it's it's a part of keeping your body in a balanced state, then all of a sudden the motivation to keep doing it becomes higher as well.
I think you need to add another component, which is to understand what you're doing,
Right.
so you can reproduce it again. Because just copying, it will not last long. Becomes boring.
Yeah.
Well, everything becomes boring, you know. But if you understand why you're doing it, then you have a target. You have an objective. Professor always says, "What is the objective?
Yeah.
Is the objective to get more oxygen in the blood? Then do qigong. If the objective is to do some martial arts to train the muscles, so we are not just doing exercises." And that's why when he teaches, he's very strict in what are you doing. If you don't know, if you're not sure what you're doing, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
If you don't know, you don't understand what you're doing, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So that way of learning is not suited for everyone.
Right.
It's only for those who really seeks that kind of information.
Yeah.
And I am one of those students,
Yeah.
because I've been practicing qigong and tai chi for many years, and then I was like, why do I have to do it like this? You know, why the arm put like this high, or why do I have to meditate for at least half an hour, 1 hour? But then I didn't get the answers. So I was looking for, and people find me annoying when I ask questions. And I was like that when I was little.
Yeah.
It was a natural state of mine to ask questions when something is unclear.
Yeah.
But then the people in your environment doesn't want you. You are too nosy. You should not ask too many questions. What does it mean? you're limiting someone to discover the world. And that's why my way of life is when our children asking questions, depending on what kind of questions, because they can ask why questions because of the why questions.
Yeah, sometimes the question is also not the purpose is not to get the answer, but to keep asking questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you need to distinguish. But when they generally ask questions, and sometimes I'm amazed about the questions they ask, and but I allow them to ask questions, and then said, "Oh, that's a very fascinating question. I have to dig into it. I haven't studied that." You have to be honest about things that you don't know. So, and that requires humbleness as well. Yeah, sorry, that's a very good question. Like, why the sun shines? Why there's night? An 8-year-old asking that kind of questions.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I like about teaching a professor. When I was studying acupuncture, I was told by Chinese people, also by what, you cannot ask questions when Chinese culture and people, Chinese people. And then I just kept my mouth shut. I was taught like that as well. But then it's not about the question you're asking, it's the way you ask the question. If you would just say, what is qi? And that someone or a professor has explained in 10 minutes already what qi is, then he will not take you seriously. Because why? Because you didn't have the time to digest what he was talking and to think about and analyze about the information. But directly after he finished the talk, you are asked, but I don't understand what you're saying. So that means you haven't digested yet. But if you think like, okay, professor, you mentioned this and this and this, and then you say this and this and this, and then I get stuck there. Then that's a good question. It's the same question, like, okay, how does qi work? Because you have mentioned how your thinking process is. That makes maybe the answer's the same, but it's the quality of your question.
Yeah. It's the same reason why in school when you're having a math problem, they make you do the calculation on paper so that they try to follow along, like, okay, he's doing the calculations,
Yeah.
but at what point where's the mistake, or
Exactly.
where's the
The
misunderstanding,
same thing.
or yeah.
Like for example, okay, what is 3 times 3 or what 3 plus, and then you put just one answer. And then how do you know it's true? Maybe he's just memorized that number. But if you say 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1, and then you can follow his thinking path. And I remember that was more important than the answer itself. Even though the answer is wrong, but you have a whole explanation, then the teacher can see your thinking process is right, but only there's a miscalculation. But if you just skip out what you have thought and just put the number, even though it's wrong, it will be marked as wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've learned. And it's the same thing in Chinese people, a professor as well. So the quality of your question determines if it's good or not. Yeah, if it's worth to answer. And what I like about professor is that you can always ask questions, even these questions that I would never dare to ask. One time I had this experience that I didn't feel like training. I had an aversion to training. Everybody has that. And I told the professor, I don't feel like training. I felt very guilty not training. Oh, okay. Why don't you focus on Fajing? Oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Suddenly I got
Fajing is
the burst of energy.
right.
So before I was doing the movement, and then it got boring, and then he says, focus on the Fajing. So he gave me another objective to focus on. That made my exercise more interesting then.
Right.
And I find it so fascinating that he knows how to trigger students to get motivated, inspired again to train further.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, how do you see, because of course the training part is it has a lot of rational side to it. It's very like, okay, why am I doing this? Okay, answer those questions for yourself, and then continue doing that. And where does the intuitive part come in? Where's the, because both the rational and the intuitive are two sides of the same coin. Where where is the space for I think I want to do this now?
At the moment that you are no longer thinking of the movement. You can talk and you're doing the movement without even thinking, and you can trigger yourself into spontaneous. That means it's already into your subconsciousness. You have done it so many times that you can do it intuitively.
Right.
Before that, you're only, it's neuroplasticity. You are practicing until it becomes normal, and then you can start to. It's like art.
Yeah.
You have a pencil, you have colors, you know how to color something. But when is it time to create your own art?
Right. So basically, what you're saying is the rational is training the intuitive.
Yeah, it's a repetition, repetition, repetition until it becomes natural. You don't have to think about it, and then you can play with it. It's like making your own song, writing a song, or a music. How do you call it? A lyrics, or you compose a music. You need to first to learn the notes. Before that, you cannot make songs. You can do maybe intuitively, I cannot exclude everything. Some people are natural talents without, maybe they're download of something.
Yeah.
But before you can actually create a song, you need to learn the ABC. Then you start making words, if you don't have the talent, right? So you create words, then you create sentences.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. I think the music, like everybody knows that, if you see somebody playing the guitar, and you're like, oh, I wish I at some point learned to play the guitar so I can express myself as freely as
Yeah,
can.
exactly.
But before that comes a very distinct training of, okay, where do you put your fingers? Okay, how, um, with what space, with what energy do you trigger the vibrations on the snare,
And the combination of music, so it
yes,
doesn't sound false,
yeah,
or but there are children, they haven't got any class and they can play music, so that is natural talent.
yeah,
So we cannot exclude that.
no,
But if you are not that natural talent, you need to learn.
yeah,
So that's the difference.
yeah. All right. Is there anything that you want to add that you feel that there's missing from this conversation?
Well, I think people will ask questions about where can I train. You can train with Professor on Wednesday night, and you just text or email to the email address info@aquesearch.nl, and we'll reply to you. And make sure you write down your telephone number, because we have a WhatsApp group, we have a Telegram group, we have a Signal group, and we can invite you for a free session, 4 free sessions, so you can experience. And the professor is going to start teaching from the beginning, from October onwards.
Right.
So there's going to be new classes, and if you're interested, you can email us. And I'm also interested. That's my marketing background. Why are you interested? So that's my curiosity. So you don't have to, but if you're interested, if you send me your telephone number, I'll add you to the group. You get to receive a link to our trainings group, and then we will post the Zoom codes every week, at least like a few hours before it starts, depending on my busy schedule. And we like to invite you to have a try and to look and feel how he teaches, because not everyone likes his teaching.
Right. Yeah.
It's only for the diehards.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an acquired taste, let's say.
It is.
Yeah.
But if you don't like the English one, I also teach. I'm privileged that I'm allowed to teach the first 5 pairs. And my teaching practice is in Aalsmeer. And maybe in future I will do some tours. I'm actually going to Rhodes that's on the planning, to Rhodes to train for a week, including all the other things that I've done, like nutrition and do an intake about your health. And if you're interested in that, also send it in an email.
Yeah.
And
yeah, and I think we should mention that your space is mostly the Dutch class. So
Yes.
the email address that you gave is that you just gave is mostly for people who live in the Netherlands and Belgium area.
It's general. It's
in
the
general.
general email box.
Yeah.
But I'm the one that's answering the emails.
Right, internationally as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So basically, this email address can be used for people all around the world if they're
Exactly.
interested in getting into contact with
Yeah.
with training with the professor and learning this ancient skill that has now gotten a modern revival, which is and you guys are also trying to get the scientific background into this, to get it validated, to really have modern science understand what this is, because it's mostly undiscovered, basically.
It is. To tell you, the latest information that I receive is that Professor is preparing his curriculum to be added to as a 4-year program in the universities. I think, one is the Guangzhou University and the University of Barcelona in Argentina. They have presented it and they want to create a postdoc. So that is the latest news on that. So that means it's a university level. But Professor, what I like about his character is also he also thinks about the people who are not able to get into the university. And that is why we have the Wednesday class, to make it available for all other people.
Yeah.
And I find it a beauty, because once it's in the university, what about the other people who don't have money? Who don't have money to heal themselves? They are worth to heal themselves.
Yeah.
So, and that's the beauty of how he works. He not only thinks about getting into the recognition, but also getting people to train with us so they can self-heal themselves.
Yeah, and some people's educational level will not even get them into university.
Exactly. Yeah. So he wants to make it available as well, and I find it really makes him a different person, that he thinks about that, and he also helps a lot of people, people who are in very need. He helps them for free, and so from the outside he looks very harsh, but he actually has a very kind heart. But because he has suffered a lot from many experiences, he had to toughen up, That's why he's only searching for the 0.1%, your intrinsic value, to train with us. So it's not for everyone.
No.
So if you want to experience, come and join us for free 4 times, and then decide after that if that resonates with you.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely keep spreading the word about this, and it really has my interest, and I'm really interested in the work, and I hope to report more on what is the development of basically all the research that is going on within Ake Research, and I hope to have you on later on as another guest, and let's see if we can make China happen, and let's see if we can report back on it. That's also if you guys like this. So please let me know if this is a subject that you're interested in. So so with that, I think I'm gonna close this interview off. Thank you very much for coming to the studio and talking about this with me.
Thank you very much for having me. And this is my first podcast ever. So it's quite nice to have you interview, because we have trained together for a while. So it makes it more easier to talk and chat with you, because you know me already.
Yeah. No, you're very welcome. And I hope you will be a returning guest. So.
I hope so. Yeah. It's nice to share with the world what we are doing.
Yeah, I think it's very needed. So
I think so too.
Yeah. Okay, so if anything, if you like this interview, and if you think this is a subject worth pursuing, then please leave a comment down below in the comment section. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Share this on any other platform that you're active on, may it be Facebook, or may it be Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter, or any other platform. Telegram it to all of your best friends that are into self-healing. And also don't forget to visit our sponsor. Links are all down in the description. If you go to our sponsor and you visit them, then you're helping out the show. So use the code Paradigm Shift, and we'll see you next week.